plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I'm pissed excellent.
Starts now.
Holy crap. We're here at the finale. I am 29 minutes late, and if any of you know me, you know that I'm usually late. But we had to break it down. I mean, I do not want to put any of the BS out. We've had enough of that with some of the other folks that we're going to expose tonight. This is not something that I necessarily enjoy, but this is something that is necessary to do. Anybody that thinks that I have an ugly heart, you can always remember all those that have come after us. I have always counterpunched. I have never gone after unless you are, in fact, elected official, and it is my absolute right and job to hold your feet to the fire and keep you accountable. I appreciate all of you for waiting for us to come on live from Getter to CloudHub to Twitter. We are on Twitter tonight. We'll see how long that lasts. And we are here on Facebook. I have the chats going. Radio Face, what's up? I've lost everybody over there. And I've got the usual suspects here on on Facebook. So let's not waste any more time. I apologize again, but it is not easy to download all of the exhibits that I needed to download in order to show what was really going on here. And my board's trying to fall off. So if you hear a crash, then start a GoFundMe. Anyway, so let's not waste any time. I do have two panelists with me because I thought, why not have the people that have had every bit of it and can speak specifically to what's going on and here in Horry County. For those of you nationwide, this is to expose what is happening nationwide, and it's being done. And yesterday, when we showed when we had our expose, we showed that it's in every corner of South Carolina in regards to the Uniparty GOP hunting down MAGA left and right. It is happening here in South Carolina. I promise you it's happening in your neck of the woods. And first up, I would like to bring in none other than our illustrious chairman, Roger Slagle. Hola, Roger. What's happening?
Hola. Audio coming through okay?
Yeah, you sound great because I was way behind and we hadn't had a chance to talk yet. But
I'm like, where's that link coming? Finally it showed.
Well, Roger, I've got to go plug something in real quick. So I want you to tell everybody what you thought of the drops, you being the guy that has specifically been attacked in these drops and hunted since July 2nd, 2021.
Well, it's one thing to read the things that came out in media from Drew McKissick, about Greenville and, calling them leopards and setting up shadow groups and auxiliary groups and things like that. It's another thing to say, yeah, they're probably doing the same thing in our county. And then it's quite yet another thing when you start seeing, documentation that, that you've shown, of a Telegram chat group of basically admitting to each other exactly what they're doing. And, and it's pretty clear. I mean, we knew kind of early on that, we were going to have some, let's say, contention, coming in, obviously a lot of the people that we displaced, were, from the, what I would call the establishment, and a whole wave of real patriots coming in that, that signed up during the reorganization process, that became leadership in their precinct, became ECs, started coming to our meetings. And then obviously even before that, electing a new slate of leadership in the convention. So, you start going through that and you kind of say, well, yeah, they're probably not going to go away quietly. And, and I'd say over the months, what was very, very, very clear, you had a lot of people that, that were, sort of used to being in that particular leadership group and, or, loyal to the establishment, doing a couple of different things, either not coming to the meetings, trying to get us in situations where we wouldn't make quorum, it didn't work, or they would come and disrupt and keep us from doing the business of what I think and what I think all of our members think we ought to be doing. And that's, holding our elected officials accountable, looking at what's going on at county council, putting together good resolutions, taking them to our local government, and trying to affect change when we the people see things that we don't like. And and it got pretty nasty. But it's clear we knew what they were doing at the time. It's yet another thing to see them actually you actually have documentation through these texts of what they were doing. They were weaponizing parliamentary rules, trying to disrupt the meeting, and yeah, it's just crazy stuff. And we were trying to do what we thought was the right thing for the party, and the people that elected us to these positions to do. So that's kind of my take on it.
Well, it's been crazy because you have literally been attacked in every way, shape, or form, and I hope that we're giving you some semblance of comfortability and being validated, if you will, as the people's chairman here in Horry County, and who decided to rescind your own resignation in regards to actually serving for those here in South Carolina. And I know you've talked to chairmen all over the state, and real quickly, because we had a couple people on last night. Is this not systemic? Yeah. Is this not systemic across the state of South Carolina?
No, I think it's quite clear. I think if you toe the line with the state Republican Party, I think you'll be fine. If you try to really represent, I think an overwhelming majority of true conservative patriots in the state and want to affect change, you're going to go against those guys, and they're going to come after you either subtly or overtly. And I think it's pretty clear how overt it actually is.
You could say that again. All right, I'm going to be shuffling papers because I got.
That's cool.
Mean, this is like I feel like I'm I am going after an Esquire tonight, so I wanted to make sure my stuff was together because it's pretty bad that I've never been to the school. But damn it, if I ain't going to kick his entire ass tonight. So we are putting the chat up here on Facebook. Getter's hot over here. We're moving in the right direction, and I want to bring on our third guest. Or second guest, I guess I counted myself for two. None other than known as the South Carolina whistleblower, who is bringing everything to fruition here. None other than, come on, I got to do it. Shannon Skippy Grady. What's happening, girl?
Hey.
You know that pisses them off.
Oh, well. How you doing, guys? Good to be with you.
I'm living the dream. So what do you say we, if God help us, we have everything put together here. I'm going to start playing a radio broadcast that was done on Liz Callaway Morning Show a Friday ago. Wait, 2 Fridays ago. And Shannon's waving at fans and shit.
Sorry.
I'm sure you're feeling pretty good right now. And I was actually asked, and I'm going to put this out here. Somebody's like, well, I guess Shannon gets a free pass. I'm going to say it for somebody that has battled Shannon for the last, couple years. I'm going to say it right now. When somebody comes to the situation with humility and honesty and has a good heart, is it not Christian for me to accept such a thing? Is it not Christian for all of us when Shannon Grady is basically ripping the chains off of so many here in South Carolina and opening the truth of what totalitarian government actually looks like within our party? Is that about right?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, anybody to think that I'm in any way trying to skirt my responsibility or obfuscate my portion of this, I was involved, and I fully admit that, and I'm not trying to duck and cover. I just came to the realization, like I said, I had that epiphany, and I said, you know what, we're doing exactly what we said we were fighting against. This is the same thing, and once you see that, once you recognize that, realize you cannot unsee it. So I couldn't continue forward, and I had nothing to do but come up. And, as I did to you guys, I apologize to you on multiple occasions, actually. But, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't come to the realization sooner, but better late than never.
Well, this, Shannon, you were brought up in this, and this is none other than the Wonder Boy or himself. Hang on. We're working through some stuff. I can't wait till I have a real producer. It's going to be awesome. So basically, this is what we're talking about. This is the Telegram, the super secret GOP pirates, and we're fixing to go on a voyage And if everybody would please look there at the top, it says July 2nd, 2021. And it is made, this entire thing was made by none other than Reese Boyd III, Esquire. So that being said, let's start in on the Liz Callaway Morning Show. And this is a rebuttal to both you and Roger going on the air a couple days prior and having Reese come out there, and he is asked specific questions. I'll give Liz some questions, or give Liz some credit. She really brought the questions that, you know, we've been trying to get answered because Reese Boyd did not answer. And for the record, I put out on every platform, I even texted to him that he had every right to be on this show tonight and answer to his own words. I heard nothing. And basically all we got was crap like this from Don Bound. I'm the most wanted. The only thing on this thing that's correct is reward up to $0. Because I'm sorry, Don, you've been exposed for exactly who you are. And I'm just going to let the grifter train take you out the town. Because frankly, you're either stupid or you just don't give a flip and you decided to be a part of this drop and the things that happen to good people like Roger Slagle, Tracy Beans, Jeremy Halpin. I'm not even going to say me and Elizabeth. We asked for it because we're out here. That's fine. Come with it. Anyway, so let's get right to it, and we will begin the Liz Callaway Morning Show last Friday. Sweet, it worked.
Yeah, we're not hearing it on this end, Chad. I don't know if it's because we're...
What?
I said we're not hearing it. I'm not hearing it.
Well, you're a follow me, I guess. They can't hear it, guys. Not sure why, but we will let them know what's been said. They've heard most of it.
Yeah, Facebook can't hear it either.
Hang on. All right, hang on a second. Elizabeth, call Roger and Shannon and put your phone next to...
Or are you just going to play it on mine?
What's that?
You're going to play it on mine.
It's not going to make a difference. All right, I don't know why that's happening, but guys, just follow through. You'll understand what we're talking about, okay? So we'll finish this up.
You can't hear it. You can't hear it.
Oh. So nobody can hear it. Okay, hang on. It's coming through my system. I don't know why nobody else is hearing it.
Do you want it on my phone?
No. Let's see here. It's coming through the system. Well, this really sucks. All right, guys. Let me work this out.
Well, while you're working that out, there's a couple things I want to say. One of those being that prior to this radio clip that you're about to show that was recorded on Friday, I was kind of done. I had shared what I felt needed to be shared, and I wasn't going to, divulge anymore. But then when I heard Mr. Boyd make his statements on the radio, to say I was a little disappointed is an understatement, because I will say this: at least Don Bound has come out and said, I thought when I did it, I was doing the right thing. And I can respect that. I can respect that he's admitted to it and that he feels he did it because he was doing the right thing at the time. I respect that. I have problems with individuals who either A, don't acknowledge anything, want to pretend like it just didn't happen, or B, they do what Reese did, which is he goes onto the radio and essentially says, I didn't do it. I was just a silent observer. Literally throwing me under the bus, which, it's fine. I'm not saying I don't deserve it. Maybe I do deserve that. But I just find it a little distasteful to represent a profession that is supposed to have integrity and be a law-abiding and honest and direct. And this person just lied. I mean, there's no way. He just lied. He just flat out lied and said that he had no part in it. I was stupefied. I really was. and to have, people tell me what a godly person he is, and not that I'm questioning his relationship with Christ, but I will say this: you need to have a come to Jesus moment, Reese, because sitting there on a radio station the way you did is just baffling to me, because it's like you don't remember that you created this group. You don't remember that I was in the group, that I have access to all of the things you said. It reminds me, I hate to say this, but it reminds me of Biden and some of the folks in his administration who will say things like, well, we never said that. We never said COVID would be, you wouldn't get it if you took the shot. We never said that. And you're thinking, you're literally on video saying that. We never said that if you took this, you wouldn't get sick and go to the hospital. You're literally on video saying that. And so in the same thing, they're saying they had nothing to do with it. They were just an observer. I mean, I guess they just allowed us to use his office. And that's kind of what he's making it out to be. And the truth could not be further away from what he said. I mean, it was appalling to me. And that's when I decided, you know what? I'm not holding anything back. I'm literally going to let it all go. So I think at the end of the day, I probably sent you, I don't know, 250, 300 separate text messages with all the different screenshots that I took to send to you, just because I wanted you to see it all. And that included things I said that I'm not proud of. And there were a few of those things that I'm still embarrassed that I even said the things I said. And I feel like there were some people that were thanking me for the stuff I said for coming forward. But honestly, I don't even feel like I need to be thanked. I just did the right thing. It's what should have been done. You shouldn't have to be thanked for that. That should have been, it's just the right thing to do. And I do think that this is a national situation. I think that even though we may not have been involved in terms of being connected to other states and other groups like this, it is a pattern that is systemically playing out across the country, where there are groups who decide that these are the people that are going to be in charge. And if those folks don't get in charge, then they just find a way to usurp that and do something else. A great example, they treated MTG from Georgia. Yes, she got elected to Congress, but the first thing they did was they took her off of any committee. So she basically just held the title of congresswoman, but she had no authority. She had no responsibility. She had nothing to do in the body of legislation, which is they hold the purse strings, and they basically put her on the outside, like in a little timeout corner, and said, you're over there. That's not right. That is not how our country should run. That is not a republic in which we are all represented. And I just feel like that this is something that has to be addressed first at the local level, which is what you're doing, and then at the state, and then, of course, at the national level. So I'm hoping that this will spur some other folks, because I know that I'm not the only person out there who is having a hard time accepting what role they may have played in it. So I'd love to see some other people come forward and just share what it is, stations to the people who've told me that they have issues with individuals like Drew. So if you have those issues, step up now. What are you waiting on? Don't be afraid of anything. Come forward. I'm not afraid. I mean, people have called me all kind of names. So be it. Whatever. I don't care. That is the least of my worry, because I have rights.
Hey, Shannon, while Chad's working through some of the technical difficulties, I mean, obviously, you've got the Telegram chat, where it's clear if somebody's saying, "Hey, I'm just a peripheral bystander. They use my office." I think those Telegram threads clearly do not corroborate that. However, you were there in many of these meetings, whether they were in his office or not. Could you give us a little bit of the context of, was this somebody sitting on the sidelines going, yeah, use my office, do whatever, or tell us more about how some of those meetings, the substance of who was strategizing, who was saying, oh, we need to do this, who was making decisions, on and on.
Well, I mean, and this is going to be backed up in the Telegram messages.
Yeah.
You're going to literally see that it is Reese who is saying we discuss these things, and at some points he wanted us. Telegram was not secret enough. He wanted another platform that we could use that was even more secret. And I remember thinking to myself at that point in time, why do we need to be so secret? This is not CIA. What in the world? Let's just meet face to face and talk. But the primary thing is that Reese Don more Reese and Don than Jim. Jim was there and he just wanted to be, an active participant. But I think Reese really had a hard time with the loss, with your defeating him in that race, and he took it personal. And for him, it was all about I'm gonna do something. He told me at one point in time that he had moved back here. I guess I don't know. He graduated from college, went somewhere, and he moved back, and he felt like he was going to get involved in office. And I think he ran either 3 or 4 times and got beat all 4 times or whatever. And so he felt like, well, maybe God's telling me I shouldn't run. And I just want to say, yeah, I think that's what God was telling you, Reese. You shouldn't run, especially now that what's come to light. So the primary focus of the meetings were ways in which we can work and create a group or a coalition. And now Don has come forward and even admitted that he was trying to create a coalition. Right. They've now given it a name, Horry County Conservative Alliance. And that was supposed to work together with other conservative groups, except the HCGOP. You would not be included in that. And that's where the party would be able to work through. And the reason they wanted to do that is because they wanted to have guys like themselves. Reese and Don wanted to be in power. They did not like the idea of using the women. First of all, I was a president. And second of all, men could not hold positions of leadership because we were federated, and they didn't like that. So that was part of the problem the whole time, is that they were constantly trying to find a way to undercut my group so that they could have something else. But, we were federated, and the feeling was because of that, we had a more, a better appearance whenever the governor, lieutenant governor, whoever came. It's like, well, they're a federated group. That's why, as opposed to, a Red Hats event or something like that, where, what in the world is this group? It's not affiliated with the party. So I think that's a large part. And that's what most of our meetings were about, really. How can we create this group? How can we create a working coalition of people that can undercut the HCGOP, or basically just make you irrelevant? That was the focus.
Okay, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So, no, it sucks. We had a big issue here, and I'm not going to go into it why, but it is what it is. So we are going to be able to play. It's just going to be a little different instead of into the situation. So we are going to play this thing and get it going so that we can get the recording. We got the recording, and we got a bad file. So that is what it is, and we will move on from that. So we are going to play it acoustically. I have a very expensive mic, so it's going to sound great. That's the way we did it the first time anyway, and we'll go from there. So, sorry, and you guys did a great job covering. And hey, you know what? We've been dropping a lot of bombs on these guys. Gave them something to laugh about, right?
Right, that's right.
If I had the producer that I want, I'm sure it'd be taken care of. But this is what happens when you do it on the fly. So here is Reese Boyd III and we'll get it going and go from there.
They have their own rules that they've said that they're following and pursuing.
Everybody here, okay?
And I'm not going to poo-poo their rules and poo-poo your rules and poo-poo anything. So what I'm going to do is...
There sure is a lot of poo-poo. That's a lot.
Exactly.
That's
it's a pile of poo-poo back here.
Yes.
And so for me, it's kind of like a weird thing because, Roger Slagle was gracious enough to come on the air and kind of say his piece. I don't know if we accomplished anything with his interview, but we also had someone else on the radio dropping bombs, so they say. And, she said that, you heard the interview. I sent you a clip of it that said, she said that there was a meeting at your office and it was some way to undermine the duly elected HCGOP. She said she was part of it. She apologized for it. She considers herself a whistleblower.
Yeah.
I mean, did you want to address any of that?
Liz, it's like how much, here's the thing. There was a meeting in my office for sure. I remember that now. And
she was there.
People should, Shannon was there. But, this situation, it's not like this all just happened. There have been, you got to spin the clock back about 10 years. And there started happening. There was an election cycle.
So we're going back 10 years because the truth just doesn't make any damn sense, right? So again, we are having to do this analog wise, but it just don't make no damn sense, right? We got to go back 10 years. So let's continue
Yeah,
with
I think,
Reese's.
Chad, I think you learned that in public speaking 101. If you get a question you don't like, you bridge to something else.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. That's a great idea.
I don't know if you remember, there was an election cycle where they went through, the parties messed up the election process. And there were a bunch of lawsuits. I think it was the 2012 cycle. It's been a while since I looked at it. There was a bunch of lawsuits because certain candidates, a lot of candidates, didn't make it onto the ballot. So there were these other organizations. They started taking the role away from the party. The party had a bigger role in elections prior to that time. So there have been these other groups that, like Victory. There's this organization called Victory, but they started moving the party out of a lot of the roles that it had played before the 2012 cycle. Is my recollection. I hadn't really studied it, but that's my.
Excuse me, Roger Schlegel. He says that the GOP, because of 2012, apparently has lost all of its proverbial power. Did you not, or did you not? Because we're going to speed this thing up. Did you or did you not actually have to approve the ballots for the midterm here in 2022?
Absolutely.
Did we not run a protest or handle as a court, if you will, for the chairman race that was protesting under whatever, and he in fact did not file in the right date, so we then kicked that to we adjudicated the fact that he did not file in time and there could not be moved forward. He wanted to protest to the state, and he ended up just dropping his protest. Correct?
That's correct. I mean, you're talking about the Mark Lazarus against Johnny Gardner runoff, and Mark Lazarus brought a challenge, and somehow tied in with state election law, the county party, for an election or for a runoff, is the Republican Party of that county. So it came to us as his first line to protest or to have some some sort of protest. They came. He brought his attorney. Johnny Gardner came, brought his attorney. They began to lay out their case, and some of our members who literally served as the jury basically said, "Well, wait a second, before we get there, you didn't file on time." So anyway, I'm getting into the weeds, but yeah, I mean.
I know. I'm gonna shut you down. I have a. Well, I don't know what the hell works on this board anymore, so we'll see from there. I don't know if I might have to do a firmware thing here soon. I'm sure we're being, we got friends out there. So I want to bring up Victory. So Victory, anytime you brought up the Victory organization in South Carolina, anybody that was part of the establishment would lose their ever-loving mind. And I think I figured it out today. There's a cool little website. Everybody write it down. And it's called Secrets. Oh, crap. Ballot Speaker. No. And basically, here you go. If you look at South Carolina in 2022, being a presidential, I figured the numbers would be better, and they are. There it is right there, $652,000 to Victory Enterprises. So if you listen to Reese Boyd III here, he actually says that there have been groups brought in called like Victory. So what you're telling me is because of 2012, whichever snafu happened, that they brought in bureaucrats that they're paying $652,000 a year.
It's paid for by Lindsey Graham.
There it is, folks. I was getting to it. You're a pain in my ass. But yes, here is Reese stepping on himself, basically saying that the entire election and everything that we do was given to Victory because we have lost our sanity, if you will, and because we screwed up an election in 2012, or somebody did. And so this group Victory is paid for by the SCGOP. And let's hear Reese, shall we?
Because certain candidates, a lot of candidates, didn't make it onto the ballot. So there were these other organizations. They started taking the role away from the party. The party had a bigger role in elections.
Took the role away from the party.
There have been these other groups that, like Victory. There's this organization called Victory, but they started moving the party out of a lot of the roles that it had played before the 2012 cycle is my recollection. I hadn't really studied it, but that's my recollection. And so you got these other groups that have been And for the last several cycles, Victory has been an organization that the state party has worked through to do various things at the local level. Mm-hmm. So you've got these other groups that have long since been out there. Yeah, there was a meeting in my office. Yeah, the lieutenant governor was there. I don't even remember why. It's not like she came to my office to meet to talk about that. Mm-hmm.
Wait. So he said that there was the meeting that Shannon Grady dropped a week ago. And hey, Reese, this is going to hurt. It's going to hurt really bad. That meeting was on July 2nd. Am I correct, Shannon?
The meeting with her?
Yeah. Because I guess the minutes would come out July 2nd. Yeah. And that's when the Reese Boyd pirate group showed up. They actually made minutes of their dirty deed. And here they are, HCGOP meeting notes that he's talking about in regards to the lieutenant governor being there. And he said she didn't even know, we didn't even know. And he's going to go on to say it's Shannon's fault. But let me help this out for those of you who can't read. Meeting held Friday, 7/2/2021 at 9 a.m. at Reese Boyd's office in Myrtle Beach. Good discussion of how we can grow the party beyond the influence of the current few who have taken control at the county level. Right there pretty much makes our whole week valid, right? Key points: continue to press for transparency in HCGOP on all issues and information, not just the things that leadership wants to share. In other words, we're going to drop as much opposition research as we can. We've already seen that Furbear, the FBI fellow, has been trying to get that from everybody. Need to develop system for responding to misinformation and other efforts to discredit independent conservative elements of the HCGOP, SCGOP. Wait.
Misinformation? Didn't we have a misinformation?
Well, and they're also saying anybody that's independently thinking of themselves, like, I don't know, Rogers GOP, they're going to take them out. They just said it. It's right there. Anyway. Group members will share such information amongst themselves and forward communication any of us receive from the party to all GOPP group members.
That last P
group
is for
agreed
pirates.
It would. Yeah, what's that?
That last P is for pirates.
Group agreed it would generally plan to meet around every 6 weeks or so, or following HCGOP meetings. Wait a minute, we saw that in the drop. Is that what they call the after action meetings? Am I right?
Bing, 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 bing. We have a winner.
Bingo. Okay, so let's move on. Following HCB as needed. Meetings in person, all discussions confidential. And if you look in the drops, the cone of secrecy and all the other cool words that the pirates of the GOP have put out there to make sure this doesn't get out to me. Their whole world sucks right now. Anyway, action items. This is my favorite. We will help Shannon's group raise money to do its outreach. We will also help Linda's group recruit members, etc. Hang on, I don't want to lose my thing here. All right. Linda's group, that's the Horry County Conservative Voices?
American Conservative Voices.
Yep. Okay. Recruit members, etc. Help Don's group, that's the Red Hats for America because of America. We keep it America. When activities are hosted by RHA. Is that RHA?
Yeah, Red Hats America.
Red Hats America. RRB, that's Reese Boyd, right?
Yes. The third.
Okay. Well, he didn't put the third. He just put roll on or whatever his middle name
that actually stands for
to reach out to. Who is ML and DN?
I don't know. That one I don't know.
Okay. Jerry McDaniel distribute.
Got to be Drew McKissick.
Oh, there's Drew McKissick. ML, I wonder who that is. I don't know. Jerry will distribute key voter lists in contested precincts so that we can identify individual and business interests that we can reach out to. This is absolutely a manifesto to undermine the HCGOP. Continue to work on lists of target precincts in efforts to identify and respond to areas. Individuals as needed, RBB, that's Reese Boyd III, Esquire, to set up discussion groups on Telegram for this group to use. Wait, this one? This guy, he came up, this is what he came up with. Okay, so there it is, right there in the meeting minutes from the Lieutenant Governor meeting. She absolutely, because I don't see anything else on the minutes there that said that you guys spoke about anything else, right, Shannon? let's get to the part where he makes you the fall guy. Here we go.
On your show that morning.
I think she was on the show.
She's,
I don't.
she's building a house here in the beach.
But for some other reason, she was in town. And there was a meeting in my office. She was there. And we talked about various things, but it was Shannon's group. It was her HC, whatever you want to call it, Republican Women's Group, that she was suggesting could take the role of the party. She was the ringleader in all that. And after that group left that day, my office, I never had any further discussions with Shannon or the lieutenant governor. I mean, that was something that.
Wait a minute.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the point when I said, Chad Caton, I got some stuff for you. And that's what
that was early on.
I said, buddy, that is a lie that I'm going to undo and hang you with.
So he said that last Friday that this is all Shannon Grady, which you've apologized for the things. I mean, you've left I think you called me a loser somewhere in here, but I mean, whatever. And here, just to put it in perspective, this is within a day of the first one here. We couldn't get that up there. And so what you have here is guys just had an interesting conversation with Drew McKissick. He claims there was no ballot harvesting, Greenville, blah, blah, blah. That was roughly 4 days after he formed the group. You guys had your meetings and all that, and he's already having meetings. And he just said there on the radio that he didn't talk to you or anybody else about anything.
That's correct.
Are you or are you not on this Pirates voyage, GOP Pirates?
Directly from my page. I screenshot it.
Well, that's very, very interesting. So there you go. He is absolutely lying right there. Let's move on.
And I didn't, I'm not part of any conspiracy to usurp the Horry County GOP.
Right.
I'm in here for one reason and one reason.
Power.
Okay. I had various people call me and say, hey, would you serve? Because the party has just been a hot mess for a while, not just the last couple of years, the last, many years. And so,
I just want to interject because I still don't understand what happened, but they're claiming with their HC GOP what they were elected.
Talking right now is Liz Callaway, the host of the Liz Callaway Morning Show.
They were saying that the state party was not helping them in any way. In fact, they were icing them out and leaving them out of the loop and purposefully isolating them so that, to make things difficult for them to run and operate and be effective and grow. And so they felt that they were trying to sabotage their efforts, even though the people that voted for them wanted them. And so I guess under all that frustration and then being condemned by the SCGOP, the state party, they decided that they're just going to resign. And then the one person who is the chairman decided to rescind his resignation, but it seems that's where the discrepancy comes in. Yeah. Whether he was able to rescind it or not, whether that meant anything. So that whole part is the part that's kind of still a sticking point with them. But you guys have moved on. Yep. You've followed your rules, you think, and you reelected a whole new group. Yep. And now that group is recognized by the state and the other group is not.
Here's what happened. And I know people are sick of hearing about this. I mean, I get up every morning and my wife says, do we need to be involved in this?
Yes, why are we doing this?
Hey, Shannon, why is Reese doing this?
For power.
Because he's a good... Say again.
He wants to be.
Could you say it for the folks in the back?
Yeah, he wants.
Can you say that in the back?
He wants to become a judge. He's always wanted to be elected to something, anything, and so this was his chance.
Mm-hmm.
I've got more stuff, but I just found out today that I can tell you a little bit later about how the little web of things interlace with Mr. Tyler Servant, Robert Cahaley, and Reese Boyd. Yeah, it's juicy.
Wait, are you talking about Robert Cahaley of Trafalgar?
Yes, I am.
The Trafalgar.
The Trafalgar.
Oh, boy. Well, let me know when you're ready to say something about that. But here we have Reese straight up saying, well, he's stupid, basically, is what he's saying. And everything is a lie. Everything that's put out, and here you have absolute proof. And he's sitting here... why he is doing this is because it's absolute power. I've already done a 2-hour piece on him and shown him to be a liar. Roger, is any of this surprising to you?
Yes and no. I guess conceptually, no, it's not surprising, but to kind of hear it and to see the words and to to have somebody say that when you clearly have documentation which clearly states otherwise, yeah, that's shocking.
By the way, I forgot this, and I want to be able to do that. For those of you that are trying to understand Victory, this is how interlaced it was. The $652,000 that was out there with Victory Enterprises by the SCGOP. Here this is right here, a Facebook group right in Horry County, GOP Victory 2022. Now, if you think that's just because they want a big red wave, here's your players. There's Heather Emmons Crawford. Looky there. There is our new Congressman Russell Fry. There is all of the players. I see the FBI fella right over there, I think.
New president of the Horry County Republican Women, the new faux vice chair of the HCGOP, the new president of the Horry County Conservative Alliance, right beside the vice chair of the HCGOP.
So this is a cabal. So if y'all notice here, door knocking event, Saturday, November 5th, meet up at the Victory office. This is the Victory team. Great. That's super. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we all understood that was there. I kind of went by it. But shall we go on?
Indeed.
This is, and so here's what happened in a nutshell.
Oh, a nutshell.
There was a meeting in September, and they if they were frustrated with the party,
that has nothing to do with you.
That has nothing to do with
a secret meeting, quote unquote, in your office. Remember
when the party during the election, most recent election.
Oh, this is a bad one.
The party during this cycle, the local party, the Horry County GOP, was sending out voter guides, Liz, that told people not to vote for the Republican candidate on the ballot for governor. So they were encouraging people to write in votes for Bob Musselwhite.
Uh-oh. Chairman Slagle at that. This is like a 3-year-old lie. This is so bad. This guy should be disbarred. Somebody just said that in the chat. You need to be removed as a lawyer. This is ugly. Roger Slagle, chairman of the GOP during our midterm, and still I'm not playing that game. But he just said on radio that we as the GOP funded and backed, and I think he said we sent a mailer.
Yep, you sent out emails telling people to vote for this person.
Sending out emails to write-in vote for Trucker Bob Musselwhite, who ran against Henry McMaster. Is there an email anywhere in America that came from the GOP's MailChimp or whatever the hell we use? Did that happen in any way, shape, or form under your GOP at that time, which it still is, but I'm just putting things in perspective. Did you ever tell the members of the GOP how? Hell, since they say I run the GOP, have I ever put out that email or said it on anything? Has that ever happened in any lexicon of our Horry County Republican Party of the state?
That is an unequivocal no. We, certainly didn't put out anything as far as an email. We obviously had meetings along the way. We invited every candidate that was running in a primary. Some chose to come to our meetings and our candidate forums, and others did not. But no, I mean, verbally at a meeting, conversations with people, official party communications, instructing people to not vote for a candidate and put a write-in candidate. That's all garbage. I would love to see whatever documentation he might have to corroborate his statement. And
he's a lawyer. He should be able, because I don't know, that might be slanderous to an organization. Would it not?
Slander libel, I'd say, yeah.
Because that's an absolute just get out. They did that to Oconee County too. They said they put out an email for a third-party candidate, and they're all like, what? Could we have a court case, please, or something? Because it didn't happen, and they removed people. It sounds like Reese is setting up for that to happen here. So did Barb Tracy, did Tracy Beans, Jeremy Halpin, any of the executive staff there put out anything about a write-in campaign in regards to Bob Musselwhite, who ran against Henry McMaster?
No.
Unequivocally no, right?
No.
So that's a flat-out lie. He straight up lied about this organization in regards to something that would be nuclear to the leadership.
Yeah, in fact,
Am I wrong?
if that had happened, then Drew McKissick would have sent his lackey down here, held a little court like they did in Oconee County, and they would have removed Roger then. And since they never showed up, one can surmise that that didn't happen, and Reese Boyd made that up out of whole cloth.
Like out of his ass. Like he farted and made that happen. He was sitting in that little room that's the radio room, and he just was like, "This will work."
Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah. That's sick. And it's detrimental to you, Roger. I mean, it's an absolute slap in the face.
Well, what it tells me is that the wrong guy's writing the novel. Jim should stop writing the novel and let Reese do it because Reese has a much better imagination.
That's well said, Shannon. Well said. Let's move on. Although that's hard to get past. Are you okay? You got anything else, Rod?
No, I want to hear more.
Oh, I know you don't.
Instead of voting for Henry McMaster. So, yeah, there's clearly probably some people at the state party that were upset about that, and there are all kind of feelings on both sides of the table. But I wasn't directly involved in any of that.
Oh, wait, time out.
Who's comment?
Just to keep people who may have just joined in, there's Reese Boyd. He started July 2nd, so he was absolutely involved. And hang on a second. 6:47, working. I hit a button. It was much easier when it was on my thing. Bear with me. Yeah, we'll start there.
The party during this cycle, the
Okay,
local party,
hang on.
Effective at a later date. But the fact is, you've resigned. You've submitted your
Oh, wait a minute.
resignation, and you've been text line. Maybe you can explain it. It said that he believed they documented it and advocate for their election. Fine, you're free to
Quote unquote in your office.
Okay.
remember when the party during the election, most recent election that just passed.
This is the muscle way. I had to back up a little bit.
The party during this cycle, the local party, the Ouray County GOP, was sending out voter guides, Liz, that told people not to vote for the Republican candidate.
Roger Slagle just said that's an absolute lie.
Encouraging people to write in votes for Bob Musselwhite instead of voting for Henry McMaster. So, yeah, there's
it is absolute bullshit.
Probably some people at the state party that were upset about that, and there are all kind of feelings on both sides of the table. But I wasn't directly involved in any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was watching it. I was a spectator, just like you.
Right.
And there was no conspiracy. But you can't have a local party in a state party system where you have a one Republican party. You can't have a local Republican party advocating the election of somebody other than the party's candidate in an election.
First of all, he's not the party's candidate.
That's not. I mean,
I didn't even know they did that.
If you want to march to your own drum and do your own thing and pick your own candidates and advocate for their election, fine, you're free to do that, but don't do it as the Republican Party because you're clearly not the Republican Party.
He's actually speaking in the general, Shannon. Yeah. He's speaking about the general, which there was our candidate. And as far as I know, Roger, you didn't say anything about Musselwhite or anything. And our candidate was, in fact, Henry McMaster, and we voted accordingly. Am I wrong?
Correct.
Okay. It sounds like he's having a stroke. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all of that. I had nothing to do with any of that. I was watching it happen as a spectator.
We know that's a lie. From the whole week of dumps.
There was a meeting. They all resigned. All the leadership resigned.
Here we go.
They put out that they resigned publicly. Mm-hmm. They said, we're done.
It's on video.
It's all, yeah. I mean, it's well documented. I mean, 1,000 different ways they documented.
Yes.
They submitted their resignations. Not only did they submit their resignations in writing, they issued a press release.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got all the media to acknowledge, hey, we've all walked out. We're done.
I never got the direct answer from Roger why they resigned, but I did. Shannon said that they were condemned, and that's why they resigned. But Nick, you have something to add?
Well, it's since you brought that up, I'll zoom ahead to this question that we got on the PCRX Mobile Outfitters text line, and maybe you can explain it. It said, believe me, I love Reese, but the question is if the leader of the party, Reese, rescinds his resignation before the effective date, then legally there's no resignation, right?
No,
Okay.
that's not right.
That's
No.
what he's asking. Okay.
So, in short answer is they resigned.
Another stroke.
And they then followed up with a party a couple of days later. Said, "Hey, we sent you our resignations. Did you get them? Are you going to acknowledge them?" And then Drew acknowledged through various situations that
Wait. Various situations. Roger, when we were at dinner after one of our meetings, actually this came out in local press. Oh, wait, hang on. I hit the right button. Official resigns accepted and posted by SCGOP. This is out of Myrtle Beach SC the night before that you received your the something from the GOP, right? I believe we had a meeting, and you actually heard at that meeting 30 minutes prior in an email to Mike Connett, another member.
Correct.
Because you were never, no email was ever sent to you.
Nah, the only thing that came was from Hope Walker a couple of days after we resigned, basically saying, "Yeah, we received it." But
There you go.
that letter from McKissick that came 5:30, half hour before I rescinded. That was sent to Connett and those guys.
I've just got to read this one. Stuart Bayard just wrote, maybe it's a bar association that serves booze. He has to be drinking on some weird drug or on some weird drugs. This guy is just straight up lying like a 5-year-old, no doubt. So let's go on here. Now we know that he's talking about the resignation. He is an attorney, Esquire, and he's saying absolutely not. You cannot rescind, and we'll go on.
that the leaders of the party had all resigned. So we had a resignation. It was acknowledged and accepted by the chair of the party in Columbia. And that triggered a rule that we have.
Ruh-roh.
If all the leadership resigns. And
let's talk about a triggered rule, shall we? Because I have exhibits. He doesn't. This is where the Esquire falls flat on his face. So, that's too much for me. So to trigger the rule, here you go. South Carolina Republican Rules, Rule 5, Section E, Number 3. Should the office of county chairman, county vice chairman, or state executive committeeman become vacant, the county executive committee shall file the vacancy as or by electing a chairman, vice chairman, executive committeeman, respectively for the unexpired term. Our chairman position was never vacant. So as a vacancy, and it says, like he says, it triggers something, right? How can it trigger anything if you were running the special election to fill the other seats? And the reason that Drew McKissick wrote you 30 minutes prior is because you put out the agenda and Reese Boyd III, Esquire, realized that the chairman race was not on the agenda. So they contacted Drew to get an email to you as fast as possible. Am I correct?
That would be my same analysis. Yes.
So that would be your analysis. How about we go to Shannon Grady? Would that be correct?
That's absolutely correct. Although it's a tough toss-up between whether it was Reese Boyd on the phone with Drew or whether it was Jerry McDaniel, because they were both on the phone. I don't know who which call it. Maybe he had them on like a line. They were like on a three-way line. It was a three-way call.
Right. So there you go. You've got more collusion. And even they know that you have every right to rescind. So in the South Carolina rules, I want to bring this up again. This is not something we pulled out of our ass. It says South Carolina Republican Party. This is the state bylaws. Rule 5, Section E. Should any office of the county chairman, vice chairman, or state executive committee become vacant, the county executive committee shall fill the vacancy by electing a chairman. And what he talks about as to triggering some stuff is that the chairman, I always blow that word. Elizabeth's probably in the garage right now saying it's not provincial, but
provisional.
Help me,
provisional.
Roger. Provisional chair that was elected, who happens to be the guy that was running around with all of our voting in a white Lester Molester van. Mike Connett, if he was the provisional chairman, how come he wasn't running the elections the night you rescinded? You were at the microphone. He never stood up there. He was never there. They were all sitting there waiting to do their elections. He never was running that meeting in any way, shape, or form. You did the national anthem, everything. Did you ever vacate your seat as the HCGOP chairman?
I did not, and I think they knew it at the time. And what they tend to conveniently leave out or don't mention on radio programs, or whatever other communications that they make, is that yes, I did resign, but I resigned with an effective date. So I think anybody with common sense, anybody with any smattering of understanding of the law, knows that when you have an effective date, everything is status quo until that effective date. And yes, I chaired a meeting. I was tried to have elections for vice chair and state EC. I did not vacate my office. It was still before the effective date. And by the way, I happened to rescind my resignation as well before the effective date, which they conveniently do not put in any of their communications. Or
well, one of the other things they don't mention, Roger, is the fact that when you did your first announcement, the ECs, rather than standing up and making a motion to accept your resignations, they stood up.
Wait. We'll get to that in a minute. Because I give it up for Liz. She did her homework. So let's go on.
Okay.
So we had a resignation. It was acknowledged and accepted by the chair of the party in Columbia. And that triggered a rule that we have where if all the leadership resigns, and you can say, Nick, you can specify I'm resigning effective at a later date. But the fact is you've resigned. You've submitted your resignation, and your resignation has been accepted. And so
you're moving on.
It's a done deal at that point. I'm resigning as of October 1 or whatever the date is.
Need to vote on the resignation. So that's the sticking point.
This is Fantasy Island. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't remember an example in history of any EC body in Horry County or anywhere else gathering to acknowledge somebody's resignation.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an historical example.
They're just saying that there's a rule that, I don't know, Robert's rules. I don't even know what that is.
They're saying that because there's no specific rule that specifically says they can't do what they're trying to say, that we revert to Robert's rules, and Robert's rules says X. Well, the first thing in my estimation, we don't use Robert's rules for that purpose. We use Robert's rules for running meetings. but nonetheless.
And if you want to be in the running,
oh shit! I hit the wrong button. Okay, so. Holy crap, this is your chairman, Happy Hour Club. This guy doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Allow me, if I may, and I know Shannon's just itching. Shannon, before I let you go full tilt, let me because you know me, I want exhibits. I want to make it very clear that this slime ball is just playing games. And here is your Robert's rule. A resignation is a request to be excused from duty. It may be withdrawn by the same manner as any motion may be withdrawn. That is to say, before the proposed resignation has been placed before the assembly by the chair stating the question on its acceptance. It may be withdrawn without the consent of the assembly. Wait. What did I just say there?
Well,
Roger,
words,
did I say that right? You're the smart guy here.
You said it right.
No, you said it right.
I mean, okay.
Double negatives are always hard.
Don't do that to me, Roger.
You're right, but it may not.
Shut up. But it may not be withdrawn without permission of the assembly once it has been placed before the assembly for its approval. So there's that. And so let me ask you this, Chairman. And I also need to, Shannon is just like lit up with a Red Bull right now. When you were the chairwoman of the Horry County Republican Women, which is recognized by the SCGOP, and we all said that you were the auxiliary of the SCGOP.
Correct.
I said it. When you resigned, was there a motion?
Yes, there was. The ECs, my executive committee women, voted to accept my resignation, and thereby it was impossible for me to rescind because guess who called me? Peggy Upshurst, the state president, called me and said, I don't want you to leave, rescind it. And I said, I don't think I can. She called the ECs and they said, yep, sorry, we've already accepted it. It's already a done deal. And she said, there's nothing I can do. Once they accepted it, they made a motion, voted on it, it's done. So, yeah, but had they not.
So he said this is fantasy land. This is the guy that is acting as the chairman per the petulant child, Drew McKissick. And he is sitting there actually going out on the radio and telling the entire world that we are so full of crap that it stinks from high heaven, and that Robert's Rules you just run the meetings like that, like you do your HOA. But is it not true? And I'll ask both of you because you lived under the same rules. Is it not true that if the HCGOP does not have it in their rules and the SCGOP does not cover it in their rules, it reverts to Robert's Rules? Yes or no?
Yes.
Roger.
Yes.
So it's not just about running the meeting. It's actually a standing document in regards to county, state, and that's the go-to at the end if it's not covered by anything else, correct? Just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Okey-dokey. So let's go on. Are you guys doing okay? You I bet you're both pretty pissed right now because neither one of you have heard this before.
But nonetheless, I think the law in South Carolina is pretty clear. If you offer your resignation and your hierarchy, your superior officers in the organization accept your resignation, then you have a resignation. And then later, Roger, but
he could have ran again.
Roger went back to Drew and said, "No, I want to withdraw my resignation." And McKissick said, "You're free to run again, but
why didn't he just run
you
again?
offered your resignation, and I've accepted it, and we've invoked the rule that says we go to the provisional chairman for the county, which we've done, and all that is a done deal. So you're free to run again, and you're welcome to do that, but you can't. You don't get a take back. You don't get to unresign."
Okay.
So,
all right.
Well, wait a minute, because how is it that he can say that when you were running the meeting? If they invoked said rule because of you getting Hope Walker, why were you acting as the chair? Why were you not sitting out in the auditorium when the provisional chair would have been up there running those elections?
That's a great question.
Can you answer me that, Roger?
Well, yeah, I think the answer is obvious.
They're corroded or collusive assets.
Yes, I mean, I had
words.
resigned with an effective date, and that was prior to the effective date. I had not vacated the office. I was still running the meetings, and until September 30, unless I rescinded, which I did, I'm still the chair.
Yep.
What was the date? And for those of you that might be getting tired because we had a late start, don't go anywhere because I'm fixing to go nuclear. Not with my mouth, but with exhibits. Anywho, just because I feel bad. You are the chair. They said that it was never vacated. They even acted as though it was never vacated, allowing you to run those elections. And he's sitting here calling you fantasy land and anybody that was out there fighting them. Correct.
More, Chad. Never in history.
Never in the history.
Never. There are no examples in the state. I don't know of any. Do you know of any, Chad?
I'm not aware.
Anytime anybody's allowed to rescind.
Let's go back to Robert's Rule just so that we can make this abundantly clear because we're going to court soon, I reckon. And a resignation is a request to be excused from a duty. It may be withdrawn in the same manner as any motion may be withdrawn. That is to say, before the proposed resignation has been placed before the assembly by the chair stating the question on its acceptance, it may be withdrawn without the consent of the assembly. So I don't hear, did anybody see Drew McKissick's name written there?
No.
Or the totalitarian chairperson of the state or anything like that?
Nope.
Because essentially, as the chairman, you are elected by us here in Horry County, and we are autonomous from the state. Am I right?
Yes.
And I have one more question before we move on because I'm working. I'm kind of doing this lawyer thing. It's fun. Mr. Slagle, is it not true that when you rescinded your resignation, there was also not a motion to accept your resignation or your rescinding of the resignation because there was not one to accept it, correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think the room went nuts and everybody was clapping and cheering.
Yeah.
Just
well,
checking.
A good portion of them anyway.
Well, some of them were bad. And did they not have a motion to close the meeting?
Yeah. I mean,
and we didn't even do the other elections.
I'd say it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes, after that. And, I was ready to entertain nominations for vice chair and state EC.
In fact, I've made a motion to move forward with the votes.
Exactly. We got a motion to adjourn, and I think everybody was a little tired at that point, and even some of our good.
I'm sorry. I've been waiting for this for about a week. So if everybody could grab their popcorn and their cocktail, because we're fixing to go nuclear on Reese Boyd III, Esquire. Remember the Esquire part.
Question
Yes.
for the uninitiated, somebody who was just asking a real question. What exactly, I want to get this how he put it verbatim. What exactly does the county GOP do, and why do they need to exist? And this person's not being a smart.
Now, wait a minute. Remember, he said our power was taken away and given to Victory. Remember
Right.
the $652,000 that the state is paying to undermine its county parties. Correct? He said it. It was his words, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Just making sure. So now he's going to answer. And they haven't even gone on a break yet, and he forgot what he just said. Hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fair question. Well, Liz, you said it's a private club and you don't do private clubs, and I get that. And listen,
I said no. I don't join things. I don't join anything.
But there's actually
I joined.
the
I
party.
did join once.
Yeah.
But it was a crap show.
Yeah.
With Dream at Purdue.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm
that
talking
was a total crap show. So I just stayed home after that.
Again, Liz, the only reason, and there are plenty of reasons not to be doing what I'm doing right now, trust me. But the only reason that I'm doing it is I remember, you got to go back, you got to set the flux capacitor to like 2000.
Listen how he says gigawatts.
21 gigawatts.
Gigawatts. I mean, it's been a long time.
That's the AV
since
club.
Things were what I would call productive and normal and useful inside the local Overy County GOP. But if you went back to when Johnny Bellamy was first chairman, or during Robert Rabin's chairmanship, around 2014, I guess, 2015, if you went to the meeting, there were a few House reps there. There were a couple of state senators there. It was a useful place for people to come together, and to meet with their representatives and talk about the issues that we're concerned about, and to move the needle, to get things done, to make people aware, your representatives, to make them aware of what your concerns are, what the people want. And it hasn't been a functioning club on that level at any point since that time, not just in the last 2 years, but I mean, at any point since.
Well, that's weird because we have remember these people? The Victory, $652,000. And then here's exhibit number 1 towards our nuclear battery. The important thing is, this is from Drew McKissick, the important thing is is what we do from here. The state party is working with conservative Republicans in Greenville to create a new auxiliary organization that will help build and promote to focus on being a positive, productive force for our party in the area. Greenville is far too important an area for our state. Wide ticket for us not to help them take on such a project. We will put the full force of the state party behind these promotional efforts. And I want to remove this real quick. Hang on. Let me close the chat. All Republican elected officials are being notified that this is being done. And such new entity will be the conduit for all SCGOP efforts in that area until further notice. So right there, you have none other than the petulant child, Drew McKissick, and this is Greenville, but we are pretty much the same here with victory parties, victory offices, and the rules that go, that Drew has said, we are going to tell every elected official, Republican official, and every business that does business with the HCGOP to stay away. Is that not what I just read?
Yep.
I don't think you can interpret that any other way.
Thank you. I like simplicity. It makes sense. And so he was lying again.
And so that's what we're trying to get back. And the local party, I think, is important. The party is important because, it's just a club on one level. It's just a private organization. But it also plays an outsized role in selecting who the candidates on the ballot are going to be. And that's important because...
But we lost all of our authority. And Victory has to get paid $652,000 a year to undermine us. Am I right?
Although it's...
Can I get some Thugzillas in the chat so that people are getting this the same way I am? Because they've told me I'm stupid. and a conspiracy theorist for like, how long have you been saying that, Shannon? 3 years?
About 18 months, brother. About 18 months.
18 months. Okay, let's move on.
That's going to determine if the Republican Party is not an effective bulwark to defend our freedom. And if we don't get the right people on the ballots and get people out and win elections, the Democrats are going to win. And there's no question about it, they're taking us down the path of tyranny. They're destroying the country. Biden is destroying this country every day.
Ruh-roh, George. Wait. And now here's where I've been waiting all day. Here we go. This is the good stuff, folks. Here we go. Some shit just needs an intro. We are going down the road, and the Democrats are coming after us. We need to fight the Democrats at every friggin' level, and he is the guy to do it. He is the shiny knight on the white horse. Him, Reese Boyd III, Esquire. Oh, shit.
He'd be on the horse.
Democrats are supporting Reese Boyd in the runoff election for state senate. Let me do more here. Oh, got to get rid of this thing right here because this is going to hurt on a whole new level. Senate District 34 voter. Our next state senator will be decided this Tuesday, June 28th, in the runoff election between Republican Reese Boyd and Republican Stephen Goldfinch. Since we do not have a Democrat running, this is an important decision about who will best represent our interests in the General Assembly. We believe that candidate is Reese Boyd III. Former Representative Vita Miller, a state Democratic Party leader, has endorsed Mr. Boyd, and we trust Vita's judgment. He seems to have a realistic view that taxes will have to go up and won't tie his hands with some no new tax pledge. Mr. Boyd has been endorsed by the conservation voters who are fighting unneeded road projects, so he cares about our environment. Mr. Boyd has taken the time to reach out to Democrats and seek our support. We are encouraged by what Mr. Boyd has told us and believe he is someone who can work with Democrats in the Senate. Let's go back to this real quick before I finish. Mr. Boyd has taken the time to reach out to Democrats and seek our support. Now I'll finish. Even though this is a Republican runoff election, Democrats can vote in it. So on Tuesday, in the absence of a Democratic candidate for the state Senate, please vote for Reese Boyd III. Democrats for Reese Boyd, kicking donkey. Now, just to prove a point so that I didn't put this on, you can see that the mailer part has all been scratched out, the little thingies there. This is Democrats for Reese Boyd. So, yeah, we could call it something funny, but those endorsements actually happened. This man went on this radio show and went out in front of everybody in the world, calling out Joe Biden and the evil Democrats, saying that we need to fight it and give us the soliloquy of soliloquies. And to that, he is the Republican to do it. I am the unifier. I am the guy that's going to make this happen. And here he is taking endorsements after he sought their support.
He saw the endorsement. He went and asked for it.
He went looking for it.
That's disgusting.
To get the Democratic vote because he could not beat Stephen Goldfinch.
And he still lost.
How in the wide world of sports am I supposed to give two flying shits about somebody that's doing this? And can sit there on that radio talking to all of us in Horry County after everything we've dropped. And here he is taking and seeking. That's fine. If they want to go out there and make him look bad, sure. But he sought their endorsement. And Vita Miller is right up there with none other than who's the feller that's in Congress that's a real pain in our butt here in Seth?
James Clyburn.
James Clyburn. Vita Miller is pretty big in the Democrat game here. Am I wrong, Shannon?
You are not wrong.
Of course I'm not. That should make the chat fun. Anyway.
Many things out there that are going to save us I mean, ultimately, we are saved by. I mean, it's
Jesus.
I'm not going to get spiritual here, but politically speaking, if the Republican Party doesn't save this country politically, who is going to save it? You know.
We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah.
Who's going to save it when you have the support of the Democrats? When you seek the support of the Democrats going after another Republican in a Republican primary? Is anybody else getting this? Hello?
I'm sick. I'm sicker than I was.
You didn't know that, did
I did
you?
not know that.
Yeah. That came to me in an email from a fan, apparently, of Reese Boyd III, Esquire. Let's see. Reese Boyd is on the board member of Palmetto Family. They are supposed to be pro-life. South Carolina is an abortion destination state with the most liberal abortion laws in the Southeast.
Speaking of that, let me throw something else out there that I found out today that disgusts me. Not only is he on the board of the Palmetto Family Council, the Freedom Caucus, they couldn't find any conservative delegate from Horry County, which unfortunately we don't have anybody. We're pushing William Bailey to get his score up a little bit. Okay. So since they couldn't find any elected representative they felt they could work with as a conservative, they have put Reese Boyd, Esquire, on the board of the Freedom Caucus. That shit needs to be fixed post haste.
Well, maybe after this week it will, frankly. And here's my thing, Roger. You didn't know anything about that endorsement either, did you?
I did not. That shocked me about as much as it shocked Shannon and you when you saw it. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because this is essentially an attack on you and your honor, and I've taken it very seriously, obviously. How does that make you feel with the attacks and the things that have come over the last 18 months in regards to your chairmanship and now the coup that has there's nobody in South Carolina now that, or for that matter, the world, that is trying to say that this is not a coup. That's why we called it the Diary of a Coup Part 3. So how does that make you feel for a man that has lied up and down the coast, literally? And then you see that he had the endorsement of the Democrats, the big Democrats of the state, in order to beat Stephen Goldfitch. And he is trying to say he is more MAGA Republican than you.
Well, I like to always think that one should be judged by their actions. And
his suck.
When one says something and the documentation and the evidence says another, I just don't know how anybody could see that. I would say this. I mean, I don't think anybody would come wanting to endorse me, you, or Shannon from the Democrat side. That's for sure. And again, I think our actions speak for themselves. I mean, I think we've been all about election integrity. We've been all about following the rule of law in the adjudication of a runoff. I think we've been very honest. We've been very transparent, and our actions speak for what they are. And I have no qualms with anything that we've done. And if people want to attack and they're making stuff as they go along, and they're contradicting themselves with what they say and what they've done, I think people see through that very, very quickly.
I would tend to agree with you. Very articulately said, where you could have just said, no, he's a dick, and I don't appreciate none of it. That's me. That's why you're the chair, not me.
One more thing that Reese has been put on that makes me question, now that I've seen this endorsement from the Democrats, where he was going to be, helping with things like roads. He was selected by none other than Tyler Servant to serve on the commission for Ride 4. So if anybody is going to have their hand in roads and I-73 might pop up again, we're now going to have Reese Boyd as one of those voices. And Reese Boyd is going to be speaking as one of the conservatives from Horry County, a guy who actually went out and solicited Democratic support. What kind of deals do you think he made with them to get that kind of support?
You know what's crazy is nobody's caught me in a lie on any. They've tried. And nobody's caught me in a lie. And I'm not on anything. I could have been on I-73. I'm a big fan of I-73 not happening. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Yes.
See, this is the problem. We have this Betsy Caker maker that the little kids make those little brownies and call themselves a chef, and that's what they're putting up here to run these to be in charge. And you all have to excuse me if I can't remember words. I have not slept much. This has been a long week, but we've got people like Reese Boyd out there that are playing games, just lying to lie. He is malicious for the last year with the drops that we've done, and now he's on radio representing as the Drew McKissick self-picked county chairman of the HCGOP, and actually robbing it from a good man like Roger Slagle, who did nothing wrong. But I got us through the commercial break here, so you didn't have to listen to Christmas music, I don't think. But let's move on. We're almost done, everybody. I know you want to go to bed, but this is so important. And
I can go to a pub after this to talk for 2 more hours. I'm telling you.
Well, the sad thing is this is validation for all of those patriots out there that have stood with Roger, collected food. Today we just delivered, Roger, I don't know if Elizabeth told you, we just delivered that family's list of presents. Elizabeth's got a great picture with a special needs fellow that works there who loved her to death, and it was such a special thing. And that's what we try to do. And you saw that they don't like us doing that, obviously, because in the text they said they think they're missionaries so that they can win over people. Just like you said, I would rather go off the work of the people than what they say, Roger. We've tried to walk the walk. And here's Shannon, who at one point was against us, who is now standing with us. She was at my house today helping us put this stuff in the car. So all of that being said, let's move forward just so that we can get to this, because we're probably going to have a friend call in here soon. And because I thought we've got to have exhibits and witnesses. So hang on one sec.
You resign and your employer accepts it, it's a done deal.
Right. Well, to me, it would be up to the employer to make the change.
Yeah.
You know, they would say, well, we're not going to hire that person. We'll stick with you. And if you want to be in the running for the position down the road, submit your name once again. Anything on here, Nick, on the PCRX mobile?
Oh, I went too far. I'm sorry. This sucks.
We're sorry. Our
was an arm. But anyway, so, and you addressed it, but, you know, there are some people that have some questions still. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
I mean, it's just, think about this, Liz. It's like, say there was a job offer. You're looking in a paper, you get a job listing, you say, oh, I want to interview for this job. You say, you call the company, and they said, our CEO submitted his resignation, and it's effective the first of the following month, and so we're looking for somebody to replace the CEO. Mm-hmm. And you go through the interview, you get the job, and end of the month, you hop on a plane, you fly out to Omaha, wherever you're going. You land in Omaha, you're getting your bags, and the folks from the company are there, and they say, well, we're sorry. After he submitted his resignation, and before the first of the month, so after he submitted his resignation, and after we accepted it and we hired you, but before the first of the month, our old CEO has rescinded his resignation. Oh. It's just not the way it works. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
you know, it's like comparing apples to bowling balls.
If you resign and your resignation is accepted, the general rule is, the law is, it's a done deal.
Done deal. Done.
The effective date's another issue.
Huh.
But that just
so just because I'm a big fan of exhibits, because he is an Esquire and I play one on podcasts. let me work this out. So he just said that was a law, and that if you say the word resign, you're done. Game over. You screwed up.
You're out.
Well, for those of you out there, actually, I saw Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis is in the chat, and I believe case law is a huge part of our legal world. Both of you own businesses. Would that be true? In your estimation, case law?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, well, yay. Because you're right. He is apples to oranges, because what he is talking about, and if any of you are interested, if you have any issues with your employer, please contact Reese Boyd III, Esquire at Davis and Boyd Law Firm immediately, because apparently he can rip off the employment law and how that works as a state law. But see, that's the little trickery he has here. He's a slimy little fella. And here is actual case law based on that of an elected official. Law regarding withdrawal of a resignation. For your convenience, here is a paragraph that relates to the subject at hand. Resignation can also be made to be effective at some future date. However, the elected official may change his or her mind and withdraw the resignation at any point up to the time specified for resignation to be effective. Once the specified time period period for the resignation is reached, it is automatically effective without any further action being required by the governing body. Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that the same as we kind of read in Robert's rule, but more specific to an elected official resigning? Because essentially, as our chairman of Horry County, South Carolina, you are in fact held to your seat by none other than the executive committeeman of Horry County, not Drew McKissick. Drew McKissick then is in charge of the delegates we send to the state. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have the bank account still, Roger Slagle, under the HCGOP? I'm just wondering.
I do.
So if he was in fact in charge, and he could in fact accept your resignation as Reese Boyd III, Esquire, has made the determination that you are in fact breaking the law, and he is in fact said chairman, is he full of shit just to be full of shit? Or are we just looking at demonic presence of a man that claims to be Christian? I'm just trying to put it into perspective for us simple people.
Yeah, I think he's trying to use tactics, which I think have been successful with a lot of people throughout South Carolina. He just says something and he expects people to say, "Oh, well, I guess that must be true." And obviously, we don't think what he's saying has any merit.
I just don't know when a lawyer's out there ripping off and saying that this is law and whatnot, how that isn't an ethics issue for the bar. I'm just saying, because this is legitimately hurting people. He is saying those to delegitimize you as the chairman of the HCGOP, arguably the most powerful Republican Party in the state of South Carolina. And he has gone out there. They have put their letters. They've put everything out there constantly on the internet. And it is slanderous. And now he is backing it with law, with Esquire after his name.
Law he's made up, apparently.
To fool people. Shannon, you said apples to oranges. What do you got?
Yeah, I find it appalling that he is reciting law that he's making up out of whole. He's just making this up. He's pulling it out of his butt, because the written law clearly is an opposite single thing that man has ever said related to this particular event. There's no doubt in my mind, and every person I've spoken to with any legal background whatsoever, whether they be attorneys, whether they be past judges, etc., have all agreed that Roger had the right to rescind, withdraw, whatever you want to call it, and is in fact the duly elected chair. If that weren't the case, if it was simply a matter of Drew McKissick gets to say, "Yep, I've accepted it and you're out," then guess what? We wouldn't need anymore. We wouldn't need a county convention, because Drew McKissick, with his decree, could say, "And you shall be the chair, and you shall be the state EC, and vice chair.
Hey,
And that is how it shall be. So saith Drew."
Shannon, you hung out with the SCGOP. Does he have like one of them scepter thingies? Does he have one?
I might need to get him one, because if he doesn't have one,
does he oil himself up?
He needs one.
He gets all
Gandalf,
oily.
Gandalf, whatever. He needs that. He needs that.
Gandalf. Let me ask you guys a question, and I don't have it, but it's in the chat because it's still bothering me. When somebody says, I saw the meeting, it was like a barrel of monkeys, and that's racist. What does that say to you?
Are you asking me?
Anybody.
Yeah. When you're using the term monkeys this day and age, I mean, look, they changed the monkeypox to something else because it was racially offensive. So using the word to describe somebody else is in itself inherently going to be racist.
Roger?
Yeah.
I mean, my question is, if you're saying a barrel of monkeys, which I know is an old-timey saying, and I don't equate monkeys to any culture other than they're primates. So if somebody says, "Oh, the meeting was like a barrel of monkeys," oops, that's racist, ha ha ha, or whatever, and I meant provocative. I didn't really get that, and I'm in the Navy and all that, but I'm not inherently racist, so I don't know how I would look at a barrel of monkeys being a racist term, unless you are in fact claiming said monkeys are that of a culture. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the only explanation that I could.
I'm not trying to be overly dramatic. It's something that I can't get past, and I've had a couple messages about it because it is in the chat of the drops we've put, and I thought that was a pretty off-color statement from somebody that is a leader when I didn't even really get it as to what was racist about the statement until the connotation of a primate and a culture would be brought together. So I just wanted to bring that up without the picture because it could be inflammatory, but I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I don't know how somebody can say something's racist when it's not inherently racist on its face, but what your connotation to a primate would be. Just saying. What does the chat think? Go ahead and let us know, and we'll move on. I don't want to make it about race, but I just thought that was sad, really. Not something to laugh about, but sad. So we'll move on. Anyway.
If you resign and your employer accepts it, it's a done deal.
Right.
So,
well, it's
done deal.
It would be up to the employer to make the change.
Yeah.
You know, they would say, well, then we're not going to hire that person. We'll stick with you.
Right.
And if you want to be in the running for the position down the road, submit your name once again.
I can get with that. Who's your employers? Who employs you as the chairman of the HCGOP, Roger Slagle?
I think from what's very, very clear throughout, every bylaw or state rule, the elected ECs of each precinct, they are the governing body. They are my boss.
Okay. At any time did they accept your resignation?
They did not.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Anything on here, Nick, on the PCRX Mobile Outfitters text line that needs?
I think so, because this is I guess an example of many of the texts that we have gotten on this subject. Now, first of all, there are just as many people that are complaining. Still, there's a lot of people who are saying, "Hey, finally, someone making sense. Thanks for stepping up, Reese." You've got another one that popped in and said,
"Clueless.
Thank you, Reese Boyd." So, but then we've got this one here, and this is the one that kind of is the generalization of all the texts that question this whole thing. So I'm just going to read it. Nobody get mad. I'm reading the text. Here it is on the PCRX Mobile Outfitters text line. The reason Roger didn't run again is because of the sneaky, underhanded forces that contacted only people to come out to their fake meeting that would vote for you, Reese. Rhinos that wanted to move the party to the left. Now, I don't feel that way either about moving the party to the left. But anyway, the text continues. There's a lot of dirty politics here.
No, it's not about moving it to the left, is it?
No, he's just a Democrat.
No, we're not. I'm just drawing lines, letting y'all come up with your own situation. So I just want to finish here.
If you resign and your resignation is accepted, the general rule is, the law is, that it's a done deal. Mm-hmm. Now, the effective date's another issue, but that's just when you're telling somebody when you're going to stop doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. If you resign and your employer accepts it, it's a done deal.
Right.
Right. So, well, to me, it would be up to the employer to.
I wish we had Reese Boyd here because I would like to ask him, what's it like for an elected official? Not the same thing, right?
Plus, he did
because your boss is the ECs.
Yeah, exactly. So he said employer accepts it. He is kind of right. Your employer, the ECs, right. Roger, never accepted it. So therefore, he just basically supported you are the chair.
Congratulations, Chairman. I think he's done it like 4 times, stepped on his own lip and realized he's an idiot. And apparently thinks things are racist that shouldn't be. Anyway, let's do this.
The change. Yeah. They would say, well, then we're not going to hire that person. We'll stick with you. And if you want to be in the running for the position down the road, submit your name once again. Anything on here, Nick?
So Sheila asked, why would you fight? Or why wouldn't you just run again? And the reason why, well, how about this? How about you give them the reason why you didn't just run again? And then I've got my opinion why we were yelling at you to not run and stay your ground.
It's simple logic. To run again would mean that I was no longer chairman. So I had resigned with an effective date. I rescinded before that effective date. I never vacated the office. By pure logic, why would you run again? Number one, that would be saying that the seat was open, which it was not. And to run again would mean that I was out, and I was still, in the period, before the effective date, and I rescinded prior to that effective date.
Okie dokie.
But then again, I'm kind of a logic guy.
Yeah, well,
But the law,
And
according to
obvious-
Reese Boyd, is different than the law according to every other person on the planet.
wait a minute. He did just say the law.
He did.
And he was talking again. And please, any of you out there have employment issues, please look up Reese or Davis and Boyd Law Firm. Davis and Boyd Law Firm are available for any of your employment law at this time. Davis and Boyd Law Firm, your employment friend. I just made that up. See how easy that was? Done. You're welcome. That was a free one, Reese. Free live read.
The PCRX Mobile Outfitters text line that needs.
I think so, because this is I guess an example of many of the texts that we have gotten on this subject. First of all, there are just as many people that are complaining. Still, there's a lot of people who are saying, "Hey, finally, someone making sense." Thanks for stepping
did I go
up,
backwards?
Reese. You've got another one that popped in and said,
Oh yeah, I did.
Thank you, Reese Boyd.
28.
So, but then we've got this one here, and this is the one that kind of is
Sorry,
a generalization.
I had this
of
figured
all
out,
the
and then
texts
things
that
went stupid
question
on me.
this whole thing. So I'm just going to read.
Let's just move.
So 26. Yeah, we got it. I'm glad we did the number thing, Elizabeth. Good job. She's so smart. We'll just do it there. There we
For
go.
beating the dead drum.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I just
Oh.
did two.
No, this time. You've got another one that popped in and said, thank you, Reese Boyd. So, but convention.
People pick up the phone. There's
Here we go.
one of
Roll.
that side of the room. I tried to talk to him at one of the meetings. I walked up to him, introduced myself, and I said, "Hey, and he literally sat there like Mount Rushmore, would not say a word. I mean, it was the most bizarre thing.
That's not helping anything.
Would not say a word.
Yeah.
And yet, but he's got time to sit at home and make memes and say awful things about me that just aren't true. And you have to wonder, where are we as a country if that's where we are? Let me just say this: when they did when the provisional chairman made the special meeting, they invited everybody who was in the roll call at the meeting where.
Uh-oh. I cannot bring it. Well, let's see if we can bring him up. Hello?
Press 1 to
Oh.
send a voicemail. Press
Whoops.
2.
You're killing me, bro. He's gone. No, I got it right here. 1. Who's this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, is this Stuart Behar?
Yes.
So we just played that piece about you being Mount Rushmore at our party. Can you give us the quick version of what exactly happened?
Who am I speaking with?
This is Chad Caton, the show you just called.
Yeah, okay. What happened was I was standing around in the lobby and Reese Boyd walked up to me. Now, I knew who he was. I had seen his picture with the Pee Wee Herman bow tie on the show where he called us a sewage plant, by the way. And so, I wasn't real thrilled to talk to the guy. And he comes up to me and he goes, excuse me, what's your name? Now, he didn't just pick me out of the room full of people. He didn't have any idea. He knew who I was. And I said, why? Who are you? And he goes, well, he said, Reese Boyd, like I give a crap. And then he tried to talk to me. I said, look, I'm not going to talk to you. You just called us a sewer plant, Rogers Group. I said, I have no reason. He tried to shake my hand. I threw it aside and walked away. And at that same, just within a few minutes, Mike Connett was giving Elizabeth a bunch of crap at the table. And Elizabeth looked at him and said, hey, you're young. And he goes, I'm not yelling. Yeah, I really that. Looked at his good old boy and said, was I yelling at her? I happen to be standing behind Mike. I said, yeah, you were yelling at her. And he looks at me like, who the hell are you?
So it's true that you weren't Mount Rushmore. It wasn't bizarre. You, in fact, gave him the treatment that he's given all of you by calling you sewer rats or sewer whatever. And that's not exactly how it went down. Am I paraphrasing correctly?
Well, I had no reason to talk to him. figured he was a jerk.
Well, we're making that abundantly clear tonight. Stuart Behart, I appreciate you. Your memes are excellent, by the way. Keep them up, and I appreciate you. Thank you for calling in and being a witness to what happened. And from this point forward, any of the members of the HCGOP, you see Stuart Behart out there, his call sign has now switched to Mount Rushmore. Thanks, Stuart.
Sure.
Okay, so there you have it. Uh-oh, this has gone full shit on me. Hang on.
Shame you don't have a copy of the radio show where he called us brown shirts, Bolsheviks, and what was it, Stasi's?
Stasi.
Yeah, Stasi's.
Provisional chairman.
Yes, that actually shows up in the text today. I know that a lot of you didn't get a chance to read it, but please do, because he once again calls us. I think he was arguing with Jim Furry and said you cannot argue with a Bolshevik communist. All right, so we got that done.
But unity.
25. Yeah, we're all about unity, right? 25, 45. Okay. Do that. I'm sorry, but, everybody's getting it the best they can.
Still don't know how this ends. Like, how do we end this and say, this is the Horry County GOP leadership. That is not. And let's just move on. So I don't know how that happens. You don't know either? You're waiting?
Again,
They had a stroke.
This is not a good situation. Nobody would argue for that, right? And so it's unfortunate that we are where we are. But again, Liz, you hear the word coup kicked around. There is no coup. By the way, handily won at the convention. I don't even want to go here, but there were all kinds of allegations that were reported to me after the convention.
How come none of them were reported to anybody else? Anyone?
Right, and myself and Jerry and Mike, we were all the ones running in that convention, so...
And by the way, in that convention, Mike Connett, Shannon Grady, you guys all ran it, and It was your parliamentarian, and so you're a fraud. Right. Mike Connett's a fraud. Yep. Martin Coulter's a fraud. Am I doing it correctly?
Yeah, I guess we're all frauds. And Barb Tracy was there watching the count, so she must have just blinked and missed the fraud as it was happening. So yeah,
interesting. So he's already going at the election, realizing that his people were in fact in charge of it, and it is somehow Mike Connett, who is the guy with the gold lame jacket and in the Lester Molester van. He's the guy that actually was the guy that kicked me out of convention, and then went on to run the entire election and the rest of the convention, which is now his happy hour Republican Party state executive committeeman. Am I correct?
Something like that, yeah.
So he just said Mike Connett's a fraud.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's how I perceived it.
Good job, Drew. I mean, I just called him Drew. I'm sorry. Reese, you can't. Your own lies are taking down your own people.
Right. Well, he's already thrown me under the bus and driven over me. So
right.
It separated me and Roger.
I got to come back to that.
Hopefully there is some kind of resolution sometime soon. And I don't know the path forward because I still don't know how this ends. Like, how do we end this and say, this is the Horry County GOP leadership. That is not. And let's just move on. So I don't know how that happens. You don't know either? You're waiting?
He wants to go home so bad.
This is not a good situation. Nobody would argue for that, right? And so it's unfortunate that we are where we are. But again, Liz, you hear the word coup kicked around. There is no coup. By the way, handily won at the convention. I don't even want to go here, but there were all kinds of allegations that were reported to me after the convention. You hear words landslide. It wasn't landslide. It was a relatively close race. I think there were about 20-something votes that separated.
All elections are done in percentages. You sit there and watch Fox News. It's 52%, 51%, right? The actual percentage, because you can say 20 votes, but when you're in a small room of people, that vote in the extension is very much. So I want you all to remember the percentages here. Hang on. We're about to. I don't know if whatever.
Me and Roger. There was a third candidate. I told him, I said, look, the handwriting's on the wall. if you'll get out of the race, endorse me, we'll win. But nonetheless,
Oops.
after
Did you hear him have a stroke when he realized he shouldn't have said that?
Yep.
This
What
guy
I
is
meant to say
special.
was, yeah, that's not what I meant to say.
This guy is phenomenal. Oh my God. I wish he would have came on. This would have been fun. So he just said that I tried to make Bill Wiegand, who is the third part, and we all know when there's a third candidate, that's viable, that we're going to go to a runoff. It's pretty safe to say, and Roger Slagle and Reese Boyd III, Esquire, he went up to Bill Wiegand and said, "Hey, the writing's on the wall. You suck. Give me your votes. I need you to endorse me." Did you both hear that correctly?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Now, I don't know that that's illegal, but I would, and Roger, in your lexicon, would that be considered unethical?
Absolutely.
I guess because we're a club, he can do that. Anywho, let's talk numbers, shall we? Reese Boyd III came in with 44% of the delegate vote at our HCGOP, ran by Mike Conant, his current executive committeeman of the Happy Hour Republican Club, Jerry McDaniel's Happy Hour Republican Club in Drews. Roger, you came in at 52%. 52 to 44, that probably would have been called pretty early in the night on Fox News or even CNN, wouldn't you think?
Yeah,
One would think, yes.
Yeah.
Now let's go to his brilliant idea of having none other than Bill Wiegand say, "I endorse Reese Boyd III, Esquire, and let's bring this home, folks." He had 4% of the vote. That gives Reese Boyd the III, Esquire 48%. 48% does not beat 52. 51 plus 1 gives you the chairmanship. You still win. So even when he tried to play the game and fix it, and I say fix it because he's trying to punk out somebody who's obviously a long shot third candidate, still would not have won. Is that math correct? I mean, you have a couple masters in nuclear shit. Am I wrong?
I don't think you need masters in anything to understand that.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Shannon, you've been a political person for quite a while. Am I wrong?
No, you are not wrong. This is you're making me say that a lot tonight, Chad. You're not wrong. Dang it.
I get that a lot. That's why they don't like me. Anyway, so that being said, he really hates that I say he got his ass whooped handily. That's my word. Would 52% to 44% be considered a handle? I mean, you had your ass handed.
Absolutely. That's a handy defeat.
That's a handy defeat.
There's no recount needed.
First ballot, 3 candidates, 52 to and he still wouldn't have won. Okay, so I just want to make sure that was correct for all of our listeners, because today is about truth and having perspective of said exhibits.
Look, here's the deal.
More strokes.
I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
That's apparent.
I'm kind of like, I'm here, Liz, because people ask me to serve. And I agree.
People asked him to serve back in July 1st, 2021, when Roger Slagle spanked his monkey ass. Well, we can't use monkey anymore. He made it ugly. See, I already felt bad. He spanked his khakis right out of the building with a 44 to 52% beating. And this man is now saying, "The good people of Oregon County asked me to serve." I bet we can't find one that did not have an agenda, that did not have an anger suit against Chad Caton, Elizabeth Caton, Spurlock, and Tracy, Barbara Tracy, and Roger Slagle, Tracy Beans, Jeremy Halpin, any of the other people that say, "You know what, I just want to be a good patriot." But no, we're going to throw them in the dirt and kick them in the balls. Is that not what I feel like I'm getting pissed off, Roger? Is this starting to piss you off?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what we've known.
Roger's cool, calm, and collected. That's why he's the chairman, and I'm not. Go ahead, Roger. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, it's just further corroboration of what we suspected, and now you see it in black and white, or you actually hear the audio.
It's hard to hear, huh? And all jokes aside, this is where we're at right now, to having secret operatives. 50% of the vote. 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 50% of the go out there to try to take out good people, man, and hides behind religion constantly with proverbs after his show. And if you say it, that's why I don't talk about that stuff. I'm as Christian on my actions. I'm not no means perfect, but I don't feel that I'm the righteous person to be out there spitting the word of God when I'm willing to go I'm willing to go out in the street and fight it out, and for my country and for what's right and wrong. But we have somebody here that gives it on every one of his shows. You've been on his show, Shannon. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. And again, going back to what you're saying about not being able to find one person that would come forward that didn't have a grievance with the previous leadership, I'd be curious to know how many of the people who voted for him in this last faux election were cognizant of the fact that he went out and solicited support from the Democrats, was willing to work with them, force him to beat another Republican. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I had known that previous to this whole event happening this last 18 months, there's no way in hell I would have even walked in his office, let alone spoke to the man.
And I believe that because you are that hardcore. But then we wouldn't have a Christmas miracle.
Well, there's that. There's that.
Then we wouldn't have a Christmas miracle for all the Wolverines. Didn't you make a shirt once because of something I said?
I think I did. I can't remember what it was, though, Chad. Dang it.
I think it's time for a Wolverine shirt. I'm just saying, let's get an HCGOP Wolverine shirt because I don't think Roger Slagle is going anywhere because I believe there's an army about to come for anybody standing in the way. And if you are standing in the way, and I put it out there, Sue Treese, whatever, came at me all crooked in my messenger. And she might want to go look at the text messages because they were talking shit about her. She was out there defending them after all of this, and y'all might want to go out there. But we'll get to that in a minute because we're going to start talking Mean Girls here in a second.
And it's like you put people in the position where if you throw a big enough temper tantrum and you call people enough names that you just run them off. Well, I mean,
says the man who calls it sewer rats.
If you go online, the people who are supporting.
Says the man that called us Bolshevik, communists, Nazis, brown shirt Nazis, and what else did you say?
Wasn't it sewer rats?
Sewer rats, something like that. I don't know. That was Mr. Behar. But this is his moment to say, y'all want to go out there, and I'm having tantrums on the internet. But he's never put anything for truth up. Have I not been showing exhibits this whole time? And see, I'm going to be hammered for this. You all are. For going out here and actually proving the truth. And the sycophants and the bootlickers. And that's what you are. You're bootlickers at this point. Don Bound, Jerry McDaniel, all of them have been exposed for what they've been doing in our political lexicon for a very long time. And if it continues because of the bootlickers, that's on y'all. I did mine. Shannon did hers. And Roger has stood his ground.
We are not online trashing everybody, calling people names, having conniption fits on the air. And we're just trying to move forward.
Yeah.
We're trying to move forward in a productive manner.
I've been trying to help, and I try, and then I get frustrated, and then I stop a while, and then I start again, and I try again, and it's just not working. So this one last message on the PCRX Mobile Outfitters really expresses how I feel, and I agree.
Yeah.
We're all a part of the GOP. Why can't we work together as a party? The Democrats being as foul as they are, at least they work together, and I just don't understand why the GOP just can't work together as a party.
Yeah, no,
that's how I feel, and I've been trying to move this along, and I've been talking to people on all sides, and I just really don't. I'm trying to. I understand their points. I understand this side's points and that side's points, and I just want it to come together, and let's just move on. But I don't see that happening. I hope it does.
Yeah.
Hopefully during Christmas something will move.
In all fairness, Democrats have their own problems too. They've got the far crazy left socialist
Yeah, but when
wing.
it comes down to it, they all settle in.
Seems to,
Yeah.
Because they'll compromise. They have no convictions. The left has no convictions. That's why it's easy for the Democrats to come together, because they don't have any convictions. Okay, the Republicans have convictions. And the biggest problem we have is that there are Democrats, not rhinos, they're not Republicans in name only. Luke Rankin is a Democrat. Carla Schuessler is a Democrat, provably so. And we cannot and will not and should not work together in the party with people who are not in the party. They are Crystal Matthews imposters, people that are Democrats who say they're Republicans so they can get in the party that we love and destroy it. And I'm not going to work with them.
Well, the crowd agrees. And I wanted to bring this up because this is where we get to the holier than now that is Mr. Reese Boyd. And the good side of the GOP pirates, you guys, you don't attack people. You go after people. You're about Jesus.
We're just trying to move forward.
Yeah.
We're trying to move forward in a productive manner.
I've been trying to help, and I try, and then I get frustrated, and then I stop a while, and then I start again, and I try again, and it's just not working. So this one last message on the PCRX Mobile Outfitters really expresses how I feel, and I agree.
Yeah.
We're all a part of the GOP. Why can't we work together as a party? The Democrats being as foul as they are, at least they work together, and I just don't understand why the GOP just can't work together as a party.
Yeah, no,
That's how I feel, and I've been trying to move this along, and I've been talking to people on all sides, and I just really don't. I'm trying to. I understand their points. I understand this side's points and that side's points, and I just want it to come together, and let's just move on. But I don't see that happening. I hope it does.
Yeah.
Hopefully during Christmas something will move.
In all fairness,
Yeah.
Democrats have their own problem.
See, she actually asked for God to happen for a Christmas miracle. And here we are. You're welcome, Liz.
It's too. They've got the far crazy left socialist
Yeah, but when
wing.
it comes down to it, they all settle in.
Seems to, yeah.
Things we're not ready for yet.
Oh, wait a minute.
The other lone gunman, so he sets
Okay, so we're going to set this up, and we're almost done, people. This is about it. I missed something there, but that's okay. We're going to go straight to 3613. Okay. I'm really glad Elizabeth came up with this idea because we blew it with the system because we have an update or something awry. 3613. Here we go.
Beyond the control of the elected representatives that we elect to run our government. You can't have freedom in a world if the federal government is so big and the deep state is so deep that our elected officials cannot control it. Then you cannot have freedom. A government that is that big cannot coexist with a free people.
Well,
That's why they say.
I absolutely agree, Shannon Grady. I absolutely agree, Roger Slagle. So you let me know, and I just want to put it out here. It should be here. Probably not here. Yes, it is. Okay. So we had a furry. He was the former FBI. Can't find it. We have Mr. Furry, a former FBI agent, who went on this text and said, "Hey guys, I am actually going out there and trying to connect with my former FBI special agent of the FBI and supervisor of intelligence. I have some names I want you to run." She replied back, "I'm not in the system. But you can go to Nexus. You can go to Facebook." She didn't bite, but he tried. And here is Reese Boyd talking, well, the deep state's doing this and the deep state. How is this any different? And it sounds familiar, doesn't it, folks? Because that's what happened to Donald Trump. And here we are locally, a man that took the oath of this office to be at FBI, who has since come out in today's drop and said that I am on his personal top 10 most wanted list. Nut up, son. You can find me anywhere. Because I think it's time for a restraining order from Psycho. Just putting that out there. Because I don't want to have to put my life in that situation. And I won't ever put my life in that situation if I don't have to. But by God, I will protect myself in my family and my home and my vehicle. But this man, a former special agent in the FBI, reached out and proved it, said it in the text, that I need to look up some people to the former FBI supervisor of intelligence. Is that not deep state? And here's Reese acting like, and Reese didn't tell him no. I didn't see anywhere in that text where Reese like, don't do that. He was waiting for that. He was waiting for that information to come back so he could take down his rivals. That is Chad Caton, Elizabeth Caton, Roger Slagle, Tracy Beans, anybody else that got in the way. Shannon, you were there at the time. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. I'll say this, and I didn't see every text immediately that they put out on the Telegram, and in some cases, I'll just be honest with you, I didn't read everything Jim said because I kind of thought Jim was a little out there. So when I was reading through some of these things again after I sent them to you, I was like, oh my God, how did I not see that? And so there were some things that shocked me, and that's one of them that kind of made me sick. I'm like, really? He was trying to get the FBI to investigate and find out information on you. Now, I will tell you this. There was a guy who was trying to do some research, some opera research through one of the news magazines. And his name was Jonathan. That's it. I can't even remember his last name. But that was like, gosh, man, right after the state convention. And he said the report will be ready in 6 months. Well, we're now a year past that 6 months and nothing's come out. So what that tells me is he found a big old goose egg on Roger. So nothing bad. And darn it.
Hey, Roger, can you say hi to everybody in Mandarin?
Ni hao, Wang Shan hao.
So that's the big thing that they've been trying to think of is that Roger, in fact, was living abroad in China, building a company. And at one point in the middle of all that, you were, in fact, investigating intellectual property stolen by the Chinese. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, from a
I'm not saying
from a corporate perspective, yes, but intellectual property nonetheless. And actually, a lot of the stuff that I did when I was in China was, let's say, under the current of maybe why I was supposed to be there.
And Shannon, you were in the Navy. How many countries did you go to?
Well, in the Navy, only 2, but while my husband was in the military, a lot. So a lot.
Yeah. So that doesn't necessarily make you a communist because he may have been deployed to China or anywhere else. I mean, I was in a couple communist places, but let's move forward.
You know, a democracy, if you can keep it.
Yeah.
Because it does lend towards tyranny.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And right now, it may not be like that one person who's president. It's just all these layers that are put in by previous presidents and administrations, and they keep growing this thick foundation. And that's why when we hear about Trump talking about Schedule F, I think it was, I don't know, 7 months ago, I don't even remember how long, about going in there and firing
people.
Yeah. That's what needs to happen. You need to root it out.
So let's suppose the world knew there was a Twitter dump. So say there was another Twitter dump, and we had irrefutable proof that,
or a Telegram dump,
the CIA participated in the JFK assassination. Just hypothetically, not a tinfoil. It's not a tinfoil hat idea anymore. By the way, this is another one of those instances where the conspiracy theory
was right.
Is moving in the direction of history.
Yeah.
Kind of like ours.
Another example is right. I mean, we've seen this with COVID, especially.
Yeah. And what about the FBI? We now have evidence that the FBI literally engaged in a coordinated program. Trump was talking about it, a coordinated program with big tech and a complicit, as Trump would say, deranged media to influence the outcome of an election. And not just in one cycle, but in multiple election cycles. How long are we going to let the FBI do that?
You would think it wouldn't happen at all. But here we are.
Here we are.
Exactly.
Here we are.
That's why you need a Chip Roy in there, And we have a great clip from him, too. We'll play that at 8:05. 7:50 on the Liz Callaway Show with Nick Summers.
Okay, guys, we're going to the home stretch.
Christmas is great.
Music
In the last convention. And one of the leaders...
That's Johnny.
I like Dominic the Donkey.
Nobody requested it yet.
All right.
But maybe he floated an idea.
Maybe. Well, we're wrapping things up here at Reese Boyd III, and you have a show tomorrow, 7 to 9, Saturday Morning Coffee, right here on Talk 94.5.
7 to 9. I just want to say one last thing about the Republican.
Of course you do, because you had 5 strokes.
The new leadership team. We were having a meeting, and we were talking about, among other things, some of the interesting irregularities that happened at the last convention. And one of the leadership...
Do you think Mike Connett said, what do you mean? because he ran the election, the guy that's his new leadership. This guy just so stupid. He doesn't even realize he's sitting across from the asshole that was running the last election. This is really happening. I got to get off of this air. I'm sleeping for 2 days, I swear to God.
Team, one of the leaders, the new leaders of the Horry County Republican Party, looked at me and kind of laughed, and he said, "I didn't vote for you." And I was like, I was kind of looked at him like, "Oh, you just got me." And I said, lucky for you, that's not a job requirement. Mm-hmm. And so it is our mission to build an open, transparent of Horry County Republican Party where everybody's welcome. Oh. And by the way, that's not what we had under Roger. I don't want to get into all that, but there were people who were trying to participate in committees who were being run off. It was not transparent, and no need to get into all that now.
Because it's bullshit.
Well, how would he know? He never came to any meetings.
Oh, you bring up a good point. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, once he got his khakis ass whooped up there in the middle of the 4852, he actually never came to a meeting, then said he didn't know when the meetings were, when the 3 rule, and I have that text. We just could not get it all uploaded, obviously. And he actually said, I didn't know when the meetings were. He was also the former vice chairman of this party, and we are still doing the meetings at the same time of every month. And there's a Facebook page, and there's a website. Shannon, you had 3 meetings to try to oust Roger at other events. I have pictures of him getting out of his big manly truck at one of them with lots of papers and whatnot. Did he miss any meeting that you were ever a part of that he said he was going to be to, or
no? Most cases, he actually was the one who coordinated. If you go back through those Telegram messages, you'll see that he's the one calling for the meetings. I didn't call for the meetings.
There it is.
He called for the meetings. And again, don't believe me. Read it for yourself. You'll see his little picture there, and then you'll see him saying, "Guys,"
it says Reese Boyd right here started this.
Right.
Group.
He says we need to get back together.
Even though he was a bystander.
Yes, just a silent observer.
Yeah,
right.
He also said that the none of the people that are with me in the new HCGOP go out and say any bad things about anybody. I just wanted to put some up here real quick. This also talks about how they went off of your list. I don't know. I'm having trouble with the radio, but they said that they went off their own EC list. That didn't happen. But he said nobody connected to the new HCGOP would go out and say anything on Facebook. I give you Exhibit A, Kathy Farish. Interesting, because this is CIA. She worked in human resources in the CIA, apparently. And now we have FBI, CIA. Is anybody catching on here? Anybody? Okay. Welcome back, HCGOP. Your trip from Bizarre Land is now over. You may now depart from the wreckage. I don't know who that is, but there's Kathy Farish, Preach, Best News Ever. These are all some of their sycophants because they finally got to where they were successful in their trying to get rid of Roger. Kathy Farish, I can now understand why you best the election for county council. See you tonight at, what am I reading there? Call night at the Victory Office. And there's the Victory Office again, $652,000, making sure that the rightful people aren't doing what they're supposed to be. Here you go. Gail Peterson. Oh, let me get that out of the way. This one's nice and big for everybody to read. We don't want that to be hidden. Gail Peterson, who is Gail Peterson with them? Yeah. Oh, really? Little did we know how these so-called Republicans got elected, then proceeded to ignore every bylaw and ignore duly elected ECs with a different opinion. They are not Republicans. They are discontented individuals out to destroy Horry County and elected individuals who couldn't win dog catcher by, hey, who cares as long as they have power? A disgrace. She actually is, I think she's in leadership of your old women's situation. Am I wrong?
She might be now because, I stepped down. Can't swear to who's in leadership other than I know that June Avenger is the president. Well, actually,
there's another winner.
Hold on. Purdue was over the nominating process of the new Horry County Republican women's leadership, and somehow she managed to be elected. So
she was the former chair, right?
Yeah, she nominated herself, and so June's the president. I think Jerry's the first vice, and Dreama Purdue, because she nominated herself as she's the director of the nominating committee, and she became the second vice. But
and just so you all know,
nothing to see there.
Nothing. And just so you all know, Dreamer Purdue is the former chairman, or chairwoman person that was removed didn't run fairly speaking, and she was the former chair. And after an extension or a forensic audit done by the HCGOP under the new chairman, there is $26,000 that is unaccounted for based on receipts, and the receipts have been asked for probably 2 years. And that is now, I think, going to litigation. I do not know. I do know that the SCGOP answered to the first order. That's weird. Why would the SCGOP's lawyers be answering or part of the answer to a lawsuit with an individual about the county party? As you all can see, the constant meddling. So Judy Hinion, you're a fan. I know, Shannon.
Yes.
Peggy Bushy, who is one of our patriots. I am not you, and your crazies are doing a fine job of that. Maybe you should look into the mirror and answer your own questions. That's not very nice. So as you can see, there's more, and I just don't want to turn it into that because, frankly, it's getting later, and I want to finish this up with none other than Reese Boyd. But I think it's safe to say that he has his own malcontents out there that are fighting the good fight on Facebook against all that are representative of none other than Roger Slagle. Is that fair to say, boys and girls?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
Dean Richardson. I saw that Ken Richardson was on here. That's very nice. Our school board chairman, Dean Richardson. Love that guy. Love that guy. Good dude. Great patriot. I'm glad to see some of these people that ran for offices and some of our elected officials are watching this because it needs to be eye-opening. And I am not putting out hyperbole. We are putting out actual facts. Let's finish up, shall we?
Decisions. And so, but our aim, the new leadership team, is to build a Republican Party that's open, transparent, and accessible to whoever wants to participate, as long as you believe in the Republican Party platform. And
sounds nice.
We haven't kicked anybody out of any of our meetings, to my knowledge. Now, the other side has kicked quite a few people out of their meetings because there's some people that want to attend both.
Anything?
Roger, we did not allow people into the meeting after they had their super secret meeting. Or when they did their election, we said that, and you wrote a letter to all of those that went to the unduly happy hour Republican that put Reese Boyd into their power of their happy hour club. What was the preface of that letter that you sent to those that went?
Well, basically, if they went to an unsanctioned meeting and basically participated in an election that didn't have a two-thirds quorum, that was I consider that their de facto resignation from the real Republican Party.
Well, frankly, if you're still the chairman and they're voting for another chairman and they want to come to both meetings,
exactly.
Is it crazy to say that they no longer have a place or a proverbial seat at that meeting?
Again, I'll go back to logic. Yes.
Shannon?
I'm with Roger on that. And one thing I want to say real quick, just so folks understand, all of the things that I sent you from Telegram after Reese made this show. So he had no way of knowing that I was going to send you all of that. I guess he just, like the Democrats again, they forgot about all the videos showing them lying about COVID and the shots and everything else. I guess Reese just forgot all this information that he had put in writing. So I would love to expound on this now that we can repeatedly prove how many times he's lied.
And maybe she will. I know that a lot of eyes have been opened. And that being said, so I'm not sure what I have here because my notes ended up wrong. So that was my bad.
Representatives that we elect to.
Oh, this is more of his curious.
You can't have.
Right now,
Let's suppose the world knew there was a Twitter dump. So they would say there was another Twitter dump.
things that
Of Irwin County Republican Party, where everybody's welcome. And by the way, that's not what we had under Roger. I don't want to get into all that.
No,
but
I'm almost there, guys.
Trying to publish something about that. But tomorrow, Saturday Morning Coffee, we'll have Jerome Hudson, your friend.
All right, that's it. Good. We were at the end. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I have a issue in my board right now. I don't know where that came from, but nonetheless, we got through it, and I appreciate all the Patriots that stayed and listened. The dumps are all on I'm Fired Up. I'm asking all of you to make sure you like, dislike, share, comment all day, every day in there. because Facebook is shadow banning it, because I'm sure a whole bunch of people on his side keep reporting it. Although there's nothing there that is nefarious or something that they can ban, they will still try to shadow ban it so it cannot get around. The only thing to do beat that is to in fact share, like, post, and we'll get it out there. And if anybody is ever coming at you crooked saying that the establishment is not hunting MAGA Republicans here in South Carolina, feel free to come back to I'm Fired Up at any time and grab a piece. Roger, last word.
Listen, Chad, thank you. I think you're the voice out there calling out the truth, and I think we're all in this. We're all in in the same fight, and we appreciate your voice and your ability to call out what's true and what's not true, and to show the evidence. And I just say to everybody out there, listen, there's a lot of hyperbole going on from the other side, and people look at the truth, and I think most people understand things quite quickly. So thank you for everything you're doing.
And it's my pleasure, Chairman. And I also want to say to you, thank you for standing tall for the truth and for the people that want to save this country one county at a time and are willing to go out there and do the work as patriots, like we did today with the amazing family that the Horry County Republican Party bought for their whole Christmas. And I was so proud to deliver that with my beautiful wife, Elizabeth, and all the people that helped with that, including the food, the 3 tons of food that we were able to deliver in multiple locations. That's what this is about.
Absolutely. And hey, by the way, I went by Green Sea this week and delivered the rest of the stuff that came from the Myrtle Beach women's group.
Awesome.
And I mean, he just couldn't stop thanking us. And I'm like, hey, we're doing this because of your incredible ministry and the people that you're touching. So he
saving lives.
To say hi, and hi to Elizabeth as well. And
Merry Christmas.
I'll shut up now. And also say, Shannon, thank you. I think it shows. I said it before. Tremendous amount of bravery and courage to do the things that you've done, and to put out the information that you have to expose the realities of what's going on. So thank you.
Shannon, last word.
Well, I just want to take this chance, since I've got a lot of people, just once again, just apologize if there's anybody out there that hasn't heard this before. I was wrong. I made a mistake. It doesn't matter that at the time I thought I was doing the right thing. At the end of the day, I was wrong. And if you're out there and you're one of those people and you've been in some of these groups and you're hearing this and you're recognizing that you've been a part of the wrong thing, it's not, I encourage you, put this information out there, come clean. We've got to fix our counties. We've got to fix our state. We've got to fix our country. And it can start with you, just like it started with me. And again, I'm sorry. Thank you all for being so welcoming and forgiving. It's meant a lot to come on your show, Chad. And even though we battled it out, thank you so much. And Roger, thank you for your leadership.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this with them on the screen. These are what patriots look like. You can go out there, and I give them names to people, and we try to make it funny, because if I would actually just sat here for 2 hours and just lost my mind because I can't stand bullies, even though they're tiny little people wearing khakis with a Esquire after their name, that's still a bully. We've listed that out. We actually had one of his sycophants post in the last 2 days, Audrey Hudson, who's on the picture, and she's been writing plenty of hit pieces and spying for them, actually come out and say, I think it's disgusting that you do this 3 days before Christmas. But it's okay for the 18 months of BS that you've put and hurt people that have tried to get involved, like Donald Trump had said, and made this amazing movement. You have actively worked to stifle that through your disgusting habits. And I'm just going to say it, Shannon, it took real balls to do what you did. And I know you put on the other show that you hope that anybody else has been a part of these clandestine, disgusting things, it's up to you and to come forward. And if any of you want to, please come to I'mFiredUpHost@gmail, drop me a nug, and we'll do it all over again. And we will continue to expose this, because we can't sit here and put up memes and bitch. We have to figure out the problem. We know the problem. And for all of you patriots out there that have stood with Roger, myself, Elizabeth, and the right side, I applaud all of you. It's not easy. It's not easy going to those meetings and trying to understand the inside baseball and how these people are coming at us and standing there and arguing with people about whether we're good or not. I appreciate that. Now to you. I'm going to take you two off for a second because I want this to be about me, not the two of you for a second. Those of you that have been with Reese and felt that you were doing the right thing, Don Bounds started that by saying in Facebook when this all started coming out, I thought I was doing the right thing. I can accept humility. I can accept somebody trying to understand where they're coming from and having made a mistake. That's being a Christian. That's being a good person. But this tells me you don't give a flying shit about any of it, Don Bound, and you think it's funny. I hope you enjoy every bit of the people that ostracize you and call you out for what you are. Because going after the Republican Party in the Horry County and the good people like the Spurlocks and the Frasers and the Linda Lacks and the Peggy Bushies and the Eva Longs and all these people that believe in their country and believe in the greatness that is the United States of America and that and being a patriot. And you have actively tried to stifle them, not let alone stifle. You've taken them to court when it comes to Peggy Bushy and Eva Long. You've tried to take away the idea of their Republican Women's Club. You've taken that away, them being federated. You're sick humans. And I'm not going anywhere. You may get me someday, but it ain't today. Merry Christmas, you sons of bitches. You've been exposed. Ladies and gentlemen, show up, stand up, speak up. It's your republic. Y'all fought for it this week.
You answer that question.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
And conquer we must when our cause it is just.